We start today with fact versus emotion. On this program, I try to lean towards fact, and many people in the audience wrote to me over the weekend about two different new polls, both seemingly spelling disaster for the potential re-election of Democratic President Joe Biden. Now, we're going to deal with each poll one by one. The first poll relates to whether Democrats are more or less likely to vote for Biden based on his handling of the Israeli-Hamas conflict, whether voters in general are going towards Joe Biden or away from him on the basis of how he has responded to what is going on in the Middle East. The concern, and I'm going to assume that it's the people emailing me genuinely haven't looked at the poll. And the concern from so many is Biden is screwing up this Israel-Hamas thing, and he is now going to get crushed because Democrats are abandoning him because they don't like how he's handling the situation. Now, that is interesting. If it's true, it's a real problem, especially since the right is even worse on this issue. If you don't like what Biden is doing on Israel-Hamas, you're really not going to like what a Trump or a DeSantis or some Republican would do. But we need to start with what is the truth here. And this, I hope people understand, is totally separate from our opinions about how Joe Biden is doing. I might say Joe Biden is not doing well on this Israel-Hamas issue, but what I care about is what does the polling say about how it is likely to influence voters. Now, what are they talking about? What they're talking about is a poll that finds that people generically, when they say people, they mean American voters. American voters are now saying they are less likely to vote for Joe Biden in November of 2024 based on how he has handled this issue. Now, what they are often referring to and what they are showing you is this, which we're putting up on the screen. This is part of the poll, and this looks bad. When you look at this, you see that 31% say they are less likely to vote for Biden over his handling of this issue, but only 14% say they are more likely to vote for Biden. You look at those numbers and you go, oh my God, there is a 17-point negative differential of people who are no longer going to vote for Joe Biden because of his handling of this issue. But this piece of the puzzle alone doesn't distinguish between whether people were planning to vote for Biden to begin with, or whether they would even consider voting for Joe Biden. Let me explain. This has made for some really nice, scary headlines. But rather than scary headlines, I want the numbers. So let's look at the full results of this poll by party. And then you look at these and wait a second. This reveals that Republicans say they are 58% less likely to vote for Joe Biden. Well, most of them weren't going to vote for Joe Biden anyway. According to the National Election Pool's exit polls, this was done by Edison Research, only 6% of Republicans voted for Joe Biden in 2020. So among Republicans, 94% of whom voted for Trump and 6% voted for Biden, that group, 58% say, oh, I'm less likely to vote for Biden based on his handling of what's happening in Israel. Well, they weren't going to vote for him anyway. It does not matter. Then you look at Democrats. Now look at this. Among Democrats, 60% say Joe Biden's handling of the Israeli-Hamas crisis doesn't affect my vote one way or the other. 28% of Democrats say I'm more likely to vote for Biden now, and 11% say less likely. Understand that. Among Democrats, who are primarily the people that voted for Biden in the general election, Democrats are saying we are more likely to vote for Joe Biden in 2024 based on his handling of the Israeli-Hamas crisis. Among Democrats, 95% of whom voted Biden in 2020, he is doing better based on his handling of this issue. It makes for a super hot headline, right? Dems abandoning Biden over Israel fiasco, except he's hemorrhaging support mostly with voters who weren't going to vote for him anyway. The poll didn't say, are you planning to vote for Biden or might you vote for Biden? And how does this issue change your vote? They just said, are you more or less likely to vote for Joe Biden? Republicans who had a 1% chance of maybe voting for Biden now have a 0% chance of voting for Biden. It does not make a difference. If you look at independents, it's sort of less remarkable. Biden's a little bit underwater on this issue with independents. But that was a pretty, 50-50 split in 2020. Here's the really important thing to consider as well. You might be less likely or more likely to vote for Biden based on his handling of this issue, but you might primarily be deciding whether to vote for Biden based on the economy or something unrelated. Also not asked in this poll was which issues are the deciding issues for you. And so this is a poll that generated the exact sort of emotional, breathless, fear-mongering headlines. And a lot of people, based on my email over the weekend, did not seem to want to think critically about this. But on this issue, based on this poll, Joe Biden is being helped by his handling. And let's be honest, Joe Biden has managed to point out, obviously, Israel is going to defend itself after being attacked in a way that is the equivalent of 35,000 people being killed in one event in the U.S., population adjusted. And at the same time, Joe Biden has said Israel should not take actions that will worsen the situation. Israel must allow aid into Gaza, etc. Biden's core electorate likes it based on the very poll that many people are citing to say disaster for Joe Biden. So that's one poll. Let's now talk about the New York Times poll that many people wrote to me about. If you live in the United States, did you know that anyone can access your most private information using people search sites? These are sites populated with information from data brokers. They have access to your social security number, login credentials, addresses, location history, even your online activity. That is not information about yourself that you want floating around. And the solution is our sponsor, Incogni. With just a couple of clicks, you can grant Incogni permission to go to work for you. They contact the data brokers on your behalf. They say, remove this person's data, and they ensure that your private data will stay private. Incogni will also handle disputes on your behalf, keeps you updated on progress every step of the way. They tell you how many data search sites they've gotten your information removed from, which ones they're working on, and other information. So this can protect you from identity theft. It can keep entities from looking up your information like insurance companies, financial institutions, your employer. It can cut down on spam and telemarketing calls. And the first 100 people to use the code PACMAN get 60% off when you go to incogni.com/PACMAN. The link is down below.